Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Hare Krishna. So, I'd like to chant a short mantra, which is the Mangalarchanam of the Sri Nityananda Charitamrita by Srila Vedanta Thakur. It's a beautiful mantra. Ajanulambita Bujao Kanakavadato Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambarao Tvitavarao Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro. Offer my respectful obeisance to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, whose long arms extend to the knees. Their splendid golden complexions, and they inaugurated the congregation chanting the holy names of the Lord. Their eyes resemble the petals of lotus flowers. They are maintainers of all the worlds, the best of the brahmanas, and the protectors of the religious principles for this age. They bring happiness to the people of the world and are the most merciful of all incarnations. Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. So, I thought like some pastor of Nityananda came to me recently when I listened to some classes on Nityananda Katha, and so pastimes had some relevance to something in the past, and I guess those who know will remember. So, Nityananda Prabhu, like as any other form of Krishna, has a specific place where he appears, specific parents, a set of people around him, and a whole way of like performing his pastimes from boyhood to youthhood to being grown up, etc. So we know that he's born in a village called Ekachakra, which is in Navadvip, Bengal, India. And the name of his father is Achayodja, and the mother is Padmavati. And also he had a brother, a younger brother, which is called Bankarai. Banka means in 3 places crooked, and Raj, that's Radharani, and it actually signifies the combined form of Radha and Krishna, indicating Gauranga also. So, and these 2 brothers, they of course engaged also in pastimes in their time, which resemble quite a lot the Krishna pastimes. They actually enacted also particular pastimes of Krishna, since they came like 4,500 years approximately after Krishna's pastimes. So they also enacted pastimes, but then performed their own as well. And it happened so that in the close by jungle to the village, there was a very venomous cobra, very dangerous, and it devoured people also. It was kind of a strong, big cobra. And so it was a big problem, and Nityananda Prabhu at that time and his brother, they were boys, maybe also 8 to 10 years old, something like that. And they displayed this boldness, like also you can see in Krishna and Balaram when they perform pastimes. Everyone says, no, don't go there, big demons, they will kill you. And Krishna and Balaram just don't care, who's this demon? I'm going there. So that's something I particularly also appreciate and like on Krishna and Balaram. They're very bold and they don't care, they're not afraid of anything. You know, they just, even they appear like children that you have to protect, still they're full of all their strength. So they said, no, we go. And Nityananda Prabhu went there to this place in the jungle where the cobra was staying and challenged him, saying, hey Dusha, stupid rascal, is a word, Dusha, something in the language there, or in the Oriyan language, I assume, which is kind of a taunt. You know, the Kshatriyas also, they taunt and challenge each other by kind of insulting, letting the other party know you're not a foe, you're no one. You know, then stimulating also the anger, and it's kind of mental warfare. We see this also in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, or like between any kind of Kshatriya battle. Before they use their weapons, they use words, and to see also what is the constitution of the opponent, you know, how he gets, how he reacts to that, but also getting into this angry mood. It's kind of arising or like stimulating also the fighting spirit, you know, by taunting. So it's a common thing. So Nityananda Prabhu taunted this snake, and why are you harassing and killing innocent people? And the snake came out and of course wanted to attack, and he just said, no, stay there, right there, like kind of clearly told him its place, or its place. And then was again asked, so why are you doing this? Why are you killing all these innocent people? The snake was supposed to answer. And then the snake started narrating its history, and it showed that it went back to Dwapara Yuga. So the snake was a long time around, thousands of years. And then it turned out the person who installed the snake literally there was Arjuna. And the story is very interesting because we remember from the Mahabharata that Duryodhana once planned to kill the Pandavas by sending them to this house, which were made of highly inflammable material, but they escaped. And after their escape, of course they had to go somewhere and they traveled around. There's one place called now also the Pandava Tala, this is the Pandava state, and this is close to Ekachakra. And back then, when it was the time when they were on the run, so to speak, Vyasadeva himself appeared to them and told them, go to Ekachakra, and there's a poor Brahmana called Vedashrava, and go to his house and stay there. So and they went there. And this was a very poor Brahmana. He also had a wife, he had 2 children, a 10-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. So although he was very poor, he was willing to share whatever house he had, the half of his house, which was not big, sharing it with 6 people, 5 Pandavas and Kunti. So in this way they stayed there, and the story of the place at the time was that it was harassed by a big demon called Bakasura. And this demon was like hard to satisfy in his hunger. He was a Rakshasa. Of course he ate people also. And then the villagers at some point they had to arrange a deal with this demon so that they could somehow survive. Otherwise this demon would just come and tore everyone apart, eat everyone up. So they agreed that each day the demon would get a huge quantity of cooked food. Might be rice and sabjis and whatever, and 1 person. And it's a horrible condition. Imagine you live in a place, it was a big village, it's described a big village, but there's a rotating system. Each day one has to provide the food and the person to give to this demon to eat. And it's like a very tense situation. Just imagine that you have to choose each day who's going. And gradually your village diminishes, or like your son, or your daughter, or your wife, or your husband has to go. So it was a horrible scenario, and they were living in fear. And the system was that there was 1 drummer each day who announced who will be next in turn to provide the food. So then it came, and the Pandavas were there, that it was announced that Vedashrava's turn it was to provide the food. One challenge was they were very poor and they could hardly provide for themselves, so they had to collect alms intensely to even provide the cooked food. But then there was a big issue, whom to send. He said at first, okay, I go. I'm the husband, I'm responsible, I go. But he had also this 10-year-old son, who then said, no, I go. And when he said that, when the son offered himself, everyone was crying, and Kunti noticed what is going on. And then Kunti said, well, you have only 1 son, I have 5. I will give you 1 of mine. You saved us in a great calamity, we are on the run, we have no place to go, so we have a shelter. So now we will repay you. And guess whom they chose to go there? Exactly. Bhima was very happy about this arrangement. And one thing he was happy about is that he could eat all the food. Yeah. That was the first thing. He was really, finally I got some proper food, because we know Bhima, he has this digestion fire for whole Zurich, so he can eat a lot. And he is also called, there's a Sanskrit term I don't remember, but it's translated as the ferocious eater. This is how he's called in the Bhagavad Gita. And at the same time, he is going to slay the demon. So 2 things he really likes to do: eating and battling demons, which is very, kind of characteristic for Bhima as a person. And in the Bhagavad Gita, also Srila Prabhupada mentions there are actually 2 names. There's Bhima is the ferocious eater and the performer of Herculean tasks. Yeah, so he's like, he really do things like, they don't use even, sometimes they use fists and swords, but usually when he battles the demons in the forest, they just are comfortable with just uprooting some trees and and whirling them around and fighting with the trees. And Prabhupada mentions one should not only be a ferocious eater, one should also perform Herculean tasks. Like that one. You don't just eat a lot, you also do something significant. So Bhima was very happy and he went there, he took the cart, and there was also the animal that was carrying it. I don't know if it was no bull or like some other animal. Usually it also would be eaten by the demon at that time. So one day, each day, like a huge cart full of food, a person and an animal perhaps. So Bhima went there to this place where Bakasura was staying, and also he taunted him. He said out something like, "Hey Dusha Rakshasha," kind of stupid little Rakshasha, like come out, don't hide. And demonstratingly eating the food was meant for him, kind of provoking him like, it's your food, I eat it, you don't deserve anything, like that. And later we hear also some other particular ways of how the Kshatriyas also tend to provoke each other's anger in order to fight with each other. Yes, and so the Bakasura came out, and when he saw that Bhima was there, like calling him names, insulting him, he just ripped out some trees and threw them at Bhima, and then the whole thing started. He also, of course, threw out some trees, and then they were fighting. In the meanwhile, it took a bit, because we hear also sometimes from the Krishna book in Bhagavatam that the fight didn't went for 10 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour. It went for days and weeks. We know also that battle with Jarasandha went for 30 days. Bhima and Jarasandha were battling like all day long, 30 days, full time. So, and Arjuna was concerned. He was thinking, what's happening there with Bhima? And he was using one of his weapons to send it there. It's also amazing. He didn't even have to go. He was sending the Nagapash Astra, a weapon which is turning into a snake. And he was sending the snake with the order, bind up this demon. So that's what happened. So then he went there, gradually also after the weapon was sent, and then he met Bhima on the way, and it was clear, oh, the demon has been slain already by Bhima. And then, okay, Arjuna said, you go back already, I have to take care of the weapon. If it's just there with no target to fix, it will harm someone else, so I have to take care of this weapon. Because it became a snake, literally, a powerful snake. So he went there and then ordered the snake to stay under a particular Tamil tree. And then stay there, just stay there, he said, like, because otherwise you just harm people, and don't do that. Then the snake is asking him, well, how I'm supposed to maintain myself, how I'm supposed to survive. And Arjuna said, whoever passes by this tree, by chance, you can devour, like that. And this is what the snake did for ages. This was the time that when Nityananda approached that snake, so he was informed about, Arjuna was telling that you stay there, and whoever comes. And unfortunately, obviously, quite a few people passed by there, which was a problem for the people of the area. And then Nityananda told him also, no, this will stop. You will not anymore devour people. And then he ordered him to not just stay in this tree, there was a particular hole in this tree, and he said, you stay there in this hole and don't harm anyone. And the snake had the same question, well, how do I maintain myself? How do I survive? And then Nityananda said, people will be coming and they will offer you food, lots of food. So then he made the snake go into this hole, and then he took, I just have to find the Sanskrit word. I took one of his kundalas. Kundala is an earring, so usually he has two. He took one of his earrings and he sealed the hole with it, and the earring started also to grow. And I said from that time on, Nityananda is wearing only one earring. That's where the story is coming from. That sometimes you might wonder, sometimes people have the impression, someone forgot to put the second earring on Nityananda. How's that? There's a story, and there's even a whole temple, because later on this is at this ring, and it became a big stone, and then there's nowadays a temple is built there, which is also called Kundalatala. It's a temple one can visit. And then Nityananda Prabhu has only one earring because of that, because one earring is used to cover the snake hole. And still there the custom is that people go there and offer this foodstuffs also to the snake, following the orders of Lord Nityananda. So this interesting aspect also of devotional culture, you might think, why should you worship, well, they give food to the snake? But it's not about the snake, it's about Nityananda's order, Nityananda's wish, okay, in order that you can be maintained, people should come and offer. So this is worship, this is an interesting way of worship of Guru, because Guru is in the first place worship by following instructions. And Guru Puja is fine, we do, as Srila Prabhupada was many times the point, the Guru Puja is not so essential if the person is not really in an attitude of following the instructions of the spiritual master. So there's also the mood of Nityananda to instruct devotional culture, but important is that it is followed. This will please Guru, this will please Nityananda. So also the people from there, they certainly please Lord Nityananda when they keep up the promise Lord Nityananda gave to the snake. I think Govinda Swami often also use this example that closeness to the Guru, simply like by personal service, worship is not such a special thing. He said also mosquito might be close, skin close, but what is it doing? It's even stinching the Guru, so it's not pleasing. Sometimes there might be disciples being close to the Guru, become very proud and actually cause disturbance to the Guru and to the people around them by being in a puffed up mood, feeling very special. So this is not, but if a Guru sees there's a disciple who isn't even coming forward perhaps, but it's clear this person really sincerely tries to follow the orders of the spiritual master, then the spiritual master is very pleased. And also Gauranga Mahaprabhu gave orders to Lord Nityananda Prabhu which he fulfilled. He went and preached. It was also, Mahaprabhu sent everyone away. Nityananda Prabhu was given particular tasks to preach in areas in India. And he did, he went door to door. I thought about that, door to door meant he knocked, and his request was, please chant the holy names. So this is also in the cultural context. Back then, like they're in a village place, in the Vedic culture, this is befitting. It would be a bit strange if you go now to ring someone at the door and ask, please chant Hare Krishna. We do it in essence, we approach people with the idea, please adopt this Krishna consciousness. Here by a book, we invite into a program. So the principle is, make people aware of Krishna consciousness, and not just that, doesn't stop there. Also Nityananda Prabhu or like Vaishnava culture doesn't work like you stimulate people and then your job is done. No, it's stimulating them, then cultivating them, accompanying them, and creating the ideas. Prabhupada wanted an international society for Krishna consciousness. And the term society actually bears a lot of weight. Society is not just a gathering for some while to kirtan or to chant. Society is actually the human structure of living a life in a cultivated way. Society means culture, society means security, society means management, government, all these kind of things. That's what society means. So there's a big mission actually ahead of all the devotees of this world who like part of this ISKCON movement, to create this Krishna conscious society that really functions as a society in a bigger sense. The term can of course be used, a society can also be kind of club-like and Verein, but Prabhupada was thinking of course bigger than that. So yes, it is about Nityananda, comes back again to Nityananda being the actual manifestation of Guru Tattva. We heard this a few times in the last days. And he has, of course, an internal feature and an external feature. The Paramatma is Chaitya Guru, accompanying each living entity. And instead, if the living entity is sincere, but conditioned, the Chaitya Guru manifests on the outside as the Guru that will guide you on the spiritual path. And then there's Guru's mercy. We heard here a lot about that. Also just now we chanted the prayers to Srila Prabhupada, which highlight a lot how he is actually the source of Krishna's mercy, an ocean of mercy that allows you to become free from ignorance, to invoke love of God in your heart. Transcendental knowledge will be revealed, etc., etc. Birth after birth, I want to be your servant. That's the prayer. And there are also two features to the mercy of Guru or Nityananda. One is the blessing, the compassion, the love, the care that's given. And the other is the correction and the chastisement. Both things are there. Otherwise it would be not complete. Because as human beings, we also understand we respond not always most productive to, let's call it so-called mercy. We might get away with things or don't understand the weight of the need of change we have, perhaps. So therefore it requires also that the Guru or the person that is responsible for you is also sometimes very straight and cutting, so that the ego is challenged. Otherwise the ego isn't challenged. No one of us likes it. I don't like it, no one probably likes it. But it is necessity. At the end, this is also sattva guna. The happiness or the pleasure in sattva guna is first like poison, and then at the end like nectar. So also getting sometimes constructive criticism or correction might at the beginning be like poison. You feel hurt, you feel frustrated, you think this person is my enemy and why is that? Can he or she not leave me be? But at the end, later when you think about it and you see how it's truth or how it might be accurate, then you can appreciate and think, yeah, actually it was good that this person made me aware, pointed it out so that I can at least consider if I'm not, ideally I'm able to make an adjustment, whatever. So also there the Guru has these two functions, and we see also in Srila Prabhupada that he has these two ways. In one way he is, or was being perceived like a father figure, like his disciples felt really cared for and was very compassionate, had a lot of tolerance with his disciples because they were far away from what we call Vaishnava culture, particularly in the beginning. Srila Prabhupada had to tolerate so many things. Didn't get angry. Later on though, when he had people we could expect more when they were trained, he got at some points extremely heavy with them and strongly criticized and chastised them for things they did or didn't do. So both things were there, and there's a tendency a bit, some devotees perhaps highlight just only one aspect and one only the other. Oh yeah, Prabhupada is very merciful, and then with the message, we shouldn't be critical with anyone. And then the others say, no, Prabhupada was really heavy, we should be heavy with everyone. But both things need to be there. Heaviness is based on this compassion. If I criticize just out of anger or resentment or ego, this will not be productive. But if the basis is that I'm concerned with your spiritual well-being and personal well-being, then the criticism can be powerful. And that's also why Srila Prabhupada could also criticize so many people, and they could take it where they wouldn't take it at all from other people. Some people still couldn't take it, but I guess that's nature of this world. Sometimes you can hear, in some public programs, your Prabhupada is very tense on something, and the person argues back, and it just goes on, back and forth, and sometimes just like that. So this is the mood. This is both present Lord Nityananda and also Lord Balaram. And Balaram and Nityananda, we know they're identical, and they manifest, as we heard, Vishnu Tattva, and they are responsible for the material world. And they actually let's call it ultimately let's call it the overseers of this place. Because they manifest it, they maintain it, and they annihilate it. Vishnu is creating, Vishnu is maintaining, Vishnu is annihilating, and he's present within it. That's why it's called Vishnu. He's permeating everything, he's there in each person's heart. And his mission is to guide these jivas back home, back to Godhead. And for this he has to apply these two things, mercy and also chastisement. He blesses and he also chastises. And we can see also as Vishnu is very often pleased and merciful, And as Lord Ananta Shesh, as we heard, he gets angry and he destroys even the whole creation because of this kind of anger when he sees the conditioned souls don't correct themselves. And also Lord Balaram is manifesting this feature. He has this jurisdiction, we can see, and he has some certain amount of independence. He might even disagree with Krishna. This is his freedom. He can just do it, it's not a problem. Because he also, we know that one example is that he was not willing to participate in the battle of Kurukshetra. Why? Because Duryodhana was also his student. Duryodhana was a big demon, but he was a student. He was a very good mace fighter, actually. He was very competent in mace fighting. Bhima as well, both of them were there, and he didn't want to be in a situation where he had to decide for one or the other. So he also said to Krishna, I will not participate. And he went on pilgrimage. And there's anyway a whole interesting story how he came into Naimisharanya, and there's a whole interesting incident with Ramharsha, but it's maybe also a pastime for Balaram's appearance day. I would like to read on another note where he corrected or like showed that, how to say, at some point that some conditioned souls require a different type of mercy than others, depending on where they stand in their receptiveness or in their ability to be humble and so on. And there's a story also Nityananda as Balaram. It's not the Nityananda pastime, it's a Balaram pastime. And you might remember that Krishna at one point snatched away Rukmini. She wrote a letter and she didn't want to get married to the person. It was supposed to be arranged. So what did Krishna do? He came there, stole her, and then they were off. Of course, there's a father to Rukmini, and the question is, how happy was he with that? And he wasn't. he bared some grudge with Krishna and also Balaram because they're one family. And there was a king of Kalinga, he was a good friend of King Rukmi, and he suggested a very smart thing. He said, similar like Duryodhana did with his uncle Shakuni, how they invited Yudhishthir, knowing Yudhishthir is not very good in dice. So let's invite him and this way cheat him. So similarly, Rukmi hooked up on the idea, yeah, let's invite Balaram for a chess game. And it was clear, Balaram was not so expert in chess. But of course, this is again Kshatriya spirit, and even if you get a challenge or invite, you have to accept. So he went there. And then they played, and there were bets were made, like there was some gambling. Chess itself is not a gamble. We have to be clear on that. It's a strategy game. You cannot gamble, you have to have brains, that's it. Or like the ability to play. But you can of course make bets around that. So there was a whole assembly of kings and princes who were kind of involved a bit in this conspiracy. You know, in the first place King Kalinga and then King Rukmi, they were the main actors. So Balaram was the first time, and King Rukmi was always challenging. Okay, first it was about 100 gold coins. Balaram was 100. Okay, the next game he lost 1,000, and then again. And while he lost, King Rukmi got more and more arrogant and cunning, and he made remarks on Krishna and Balaram, expressing his resentment. How actually Krishna was stealing Rukmini and how he was not happy with that, and he had a need for retaliation. It's also something a conditioned soul often, if you cannot let go, you want to retaliate. I have to revenge myself. So he wanted to use that opportunity to humiliate Balaram and challenge him. And first Balaram was okay, was tolerating that. And then it came to the third time 1,000 gold coins were lost. And they played again. And this time it was about 10,000 gold coins and Balaram won. And then King Rukmi didn't want to acknowledge, and he said, no, still I was winning, and he made a whole kind of scene, and then Balaram got gradually, he got angry, he thought, what's going on here with this guy? So, and again they played, and they said, Balaram challenged him, okay, like 100,000 gold coins. And again, Balaram was winning. And again the same thing, Rukmi didn't want to acknowledge, and also the king of Kalinga was there, like he was laughing, you know, he was kind of in this way, kind of trying to make fun of Balaram, and they said he showed his teeth, this was his particular, kind of like opening his mouth. And Rukmi was this person who wanted to cheat Balaram. And so it went on that they didn't want to acknowledge that Balaram was winning. And then at some point Balaram's eyes said, in general they're a bit red, you know, because he's intoxicated like Krishna too. You know, but then they got really red with anger, and he got more intense. And when it went on that, I'll try to find the thing that how it's described here. Yeah, there was even, then in the air an oracle voice was telling, no, the truth is Balaram was winning. Even, you know, some omen came. And then they didn't pay much regard to that. And they said, in spite of this divine voice, Rukmi insisted that Balaram had lost, and by his persistence it appeared that he had death upon his head. Falsely puffed up by the ill advice of his friend, he did not give much importance to the oracle, and he began to criticize Balaramji. He said, my dear Balaramji, you two brothers, cowherd boys only, may be very expert in tending cows. So here we see where it goes with this. Maybe expert in tending cows, but how can you be expert in playing chess or shooting arrows on the battlefield? These arts are well known only by the princely order. Hearing this kind of pinching talk by Rukmi and hearing the loud laughter of all the other princes present there, Lord Balaram became as agitated as burning cinders. He immediately took a club in his hand and without any further talk, struck Rukmi on the head. From that one blow, Rukmi fell down immediately and was dead and gone. Thus Rukmi was killed by Balaram on that auspicious occasion of Aniruddha's marriage. On the marriage eve. That's a memory. These things are not very uncommon in Kshatriya society, and the king of Kalinga, being afraid that he would be the next to be attacked, fled from the scene. Before he could escape even a few steps, however, Balaramji immediately captured him, and because the king was always showing his teeth while criticizing Balaram and Krishna, broke all of his teeth with his club. The other princes who were supporting the king, so gradually they realized what was happening. Kalinga and Rukmi were also captured. The other princes who were supporting the king, and Balaram beat them with his club, breaking their legs and hands. They did not try to retaliate, but thought it wise to run away from the bloody scene. So that's something that also happens how Balaram is, there's a saying also in German, if you're not willing to listen, you have to feel. So in this way also here, sometimes if the demonic spirit is so strong, it has to be broken with this kind of measures. And it's also that in general, this is also the purpose of suffering in the material world. It's meant to remind us that our spirit is incompatible with material nature. So because we are, particularly in Kali Yuga, I said, people are slow to understand, difficult. So they need often to have heavy experiences that they wake up. So this way Balaram had to wake up these people by, not by talk, but by walk, so to speak. So something yes, I would like to share on this auspicious occasion of Nityananda's appearance, who is in identity Lord Balaram. And I personally like to see these different aspects all together, because as we heard before, as Nityananda Prabhu is also very merciful. You know, he's trying to serve each other by uplifting them, as the Guru is also. And at the same time, it's also chastisement, and he has another side, especially. Balaram is someone not to be messed around with. Krishna actually also not, he might also just kill the demons. Alright. Are there any comments, or questions, sharings from your side? Sorry, that's good. Das ist Kabel unten manchmal. Ja. Geht.
Nityananda had children, so is it still possible to follow this family line up to this day?
Yes, as far as I know, it's difficult. There are some claims. I just remember, maybe Krishna Prabhupada knows something about that. Some Nityananda Vamsa people, they claim we are in the line of Lord Nityananda, and therefore we are the only ones who have the privilege to perform devotional service. I doubt that this is really that we can. I mean, Srila Prabhupada apparently didn't give much importance to that, as far as I'm aware. I can't really. If the line, I assume, must be traceable to some degree. I mean, 500 years, it's a difference than thousands of years. So, but I'm not familiar with the details. I mean, Krishna did an interesting thing. He just erased all of his dynasty to avoid the problems that could come. Yeah.
I have a question concerning Ekachakra, and it is said that actually it's called Ekachakra because of the wheel that was thrown, right, by Krishna on the battlefield, right?
I'm actually not so sure. I don't know about this. Could be possible.
Like one wheel, exactly. Ekachakra. But then the question would be, why is it then that this was afterwards, right? The war was afterwards, and the Pandavas were there before, so it was already called Ekachakra. It's more of a technical question. I don't know.
A question to which I don't have an answer to. I'm sorry.
But they say you threw it and that's where it landed.
I mean, probably some possible explanation could be, since these pastimes repeated from a different yoga, it could be already there, but speculation, I don't know.
And the other question I had was concerning the intoxication of Balaram and also Nityananda, right? Both. Maybe you can a little bit explain how to understand that. And
I mean, Krishna is supreme enjoyer, and it's also described that naturally, because Krishna is filled with so many energies, also Anantashesh, in the 5th canto, it's also described how he's, for example, also surrounded by many goddesses of fortune, and they massage him and they have intense feelings for him, and he said he rolls his eyes because of his intoxication. So, for him, intoxication is not a mode of ignorance. There it's more like transcendental ecstasy he's experiencing. And he appears intoxicated because he's completely enjoying so many energies of his, like that. He's always full. But it doesn't make him, it doesn't blur his mind like it would be in a material nature.
But wasn't it that they also drank alcohol, or like what is it? Soma is different, or I think it's
Soma nectar would be different. Like, for example, what Bhimasena also got from the Nagas. It was a powerful drink which is always very vitalizing and providing the strength. It's called nectar. Nectar is usually connected to what Amrit is something that is long living or perhaps even immortal. So the nectar always goes in this direction, and at the same time providing a high state of also happiness and some sense of also perhaps intoxication, but not in a draining, degenerating way, but more like in the other direction. So Balaram, as we were yesterday also, I mean, the pastime, he was drunk from Varuna's arrangement that the honey was coming out of these trees. And it's actually the Varuni you make on Balaram's day, like it's being left a day or something. With the yogurt and the honey is made at least a day before, something like that.
There's different recipes. Everyone thinks he knows how to do Varuni, and everyone's a different one.
Okay, obviously there are different ways, but the statement of Shastra is that this Varuni is something where Balaram experiences some sense of intoxication from.
So it's generally not some drugs we know that they
No.
are intoxicating.
No. And also, as I say, it's a Krishna is always enjoying his energies. They give natural transcendental bliss. Similar, like when he's sleeping, it's yoga nidra. It's not sleep like he's off and unconscious. No, he's in a different state, in a trance, and enjoys his own inner energies, inner potency. All right. Nityananda Prabhu ki jai,
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Keshava Prabhu ki
Yeah.